Welcome everybody to MogTalk. Today is sorry, we're gonna put together. Today is May 20th, 2023. If you guys are unfamiliar with MogTalk, it's a show based around the Final Fantasy XIV community discussing everything from Savage Rating to Chocobo Racing. And today is going to be getting into rating day, and I'm bringing on some people who raid sometimes. Llamatodd and Saori. Llamatodd, if you could tell everybody who you are.
Man, I just work here. Well, I do lots of rating here in Final Fantasy XIV in that directory on Twitch, and yeah, lots and lots of rating. Most recently, cleared top. I'm finally free. Hooray! Yay! Getting ready for some 6.4, but we are still trying to get some folks their last minute P8S clears before the new tier starts.
There's definitely some late starters. And sorry if I'm doing this, by the way, to the cam. I'm not trying to high five you. I did this a lot earlier, but sometimes it gets out of focus. And that's the only way to fix it.
Is it really a bad thing, though? I mean, you don't want to see all the wrinkles, old man.
All right. I'm self-conscious now. Sayori, can you tell everybody who you are?
Hello, everyone. I'm Sayori, and I mainly focus in endgame content like Savage and Ultimates. You'll always see me doing some raiding on my stream, and I like helping as well. Although I'm not such a great teacher as Dotties, but yeah, you'll see me doing a lot of raiding.
That sounds like really low bar. Like you must not think very highly of yourself. You're not a great teacher.
Well, Todd is like the greatest raid teacher. What do you mean?
I remember him helping me with P8S and making tons of mistakes and then blaming it on other people. So
yeah, it's Todd's fault.
Oh yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
We do that. Yeah. We're good at gaslighting. It's mainly Frosty's fault too.
I mean, it really is mostly my fault when it comes down to it. But yeah. That being said, I figured you both are you've done a lot of raiding stuff. You've joined raid groups. You've done Party Finder stuff. You've had a good raid life so far in Final Fantasy XIV. Still continuing that, but there's a lot of people out there who haven't really gotten into raiding too much, but they're really interested in it. Whether it's because they're watching their cool streamers raid and they're like, "How do I get in to do that?" Or
wait. Where are these cool streamers, though?
They're all busy. I had to bring you guys on.
Okay. We're the bottom. Sorry, chat. We're the bottom of the barrel. Okay. We're not the cool ones. Sorry.
Sorry.
No.
There's a lot of cool people.
There is a lot of cool people.
Frosty went down the list, and everyone's like, "Nah, we're prepping for 6.4." Okay, who's all right? These two. They'll do.
They'll do. Oh gosh. I mean, myself, like I would start raiding in a Realm Reborn, and the first time I really got into raiding was with building my own static, and then that fell apart at some point, and then I party findered for a while. I have a very storied history, and I'm making a group that's somehow still going. If maybe we'll see for top 2. But I personally even want to party finder Savage, so I'm trying to get into like both worlds. I mean, there's 2 different directions you can normally take. It's like you could say, hey, this is how I want to raid. I want to go into party finder when I am ready to do it, when I have time to do it, and everything else. And the other is like, I want to take this very seriously, so let me get people together, and it's all the same people, scheduled time. And very seriously is a very loose term. Serious in the means of organizing, getting together at the same time. All right.
Which is of course the hardest part of raiding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Getting everyone to agree to a schedule.
But I'm never late. I'm always on time, especially for MogTalk.
Well, you were here before the show started, which is really good.
Which is true.
Yeah. Todd, tell me how you got into raiding and everything with Final Fantasy XIV. What's your little back history?
Well, gosh, I've been playing since before A Realm Reborn. So I guess my earliest rating would have been like actually Final Fantasy XI
I don't mean. All right.
Do you want me to? Do you want just? Are you specific to 14?
I could go back to like
'Cause-
the 2000 like preteen days of me raiding and random MMOs and WoW raiding.
Yeah, I did some WoW raiding.
yeah.
I guess I've always just been like a raider, and when
Yeah.
Realm Reborn like rolled around, I had some really good friends that followed. We all followed each other through 11, WoW, and then Realm Reborn. We did the coils. But a lot of them kind of dropped off. I went casual for a while. Started kind of getting back into it with the Alexander raids. I had like an FC static, more casual. And then I think it was really in the Omega raid tier, Stormblood, where I started to pick up, and that's actually when I started streaming the raids, because I was getting like really into it. And AlphaScape, so Final Omega, right? That was the first tier that I had cleared on content, and that was also the one where I started switching roles. Like I went through the raid on tank, on healer, and started coaching people because I really wanted to understand like how to raid and like what's going on, not just like being a one trick, because I was playing ninja, so pun intended, right?
It's okay being a one trick,
Yeah, but it's
too much heat.
I know, but like you learn a lot more about a raid playing other roles, like with mitigation, incoming damage, and just boss positioning. There's a lot, and it helps you coach others, because if I only play DPS, then I'm gonna have a hard time telling a brand new tank or brand new healer what to do and what to expect.
But then you get the comments when you do tell them what to do is stay in your lane, healer, or stay in your lane, DPS, right?
Well, that's the party finder. You don't tell people what to do in Party Finder because you don't pay my sub. But in like my community, I have people that come to me that want to learn, so they're a bit more receptive to that information. But Party Finder, yeah, you keep your mouth shut and just smile, and then just say "we good," and then 3 question marks, and then you disband.
Yeah.
No one answers, and then light party.
Yeah, exactly. Party Finder.
Sorry. I see a message about graduation there. Did you just come back from a graduation?
Yeah, I had the ceremony today, earlier this morning.
Congratulations. Holy shit.
Yay.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Thank you.
It did, like, right after this show, you're going to go do a collab thing. So you just kind of wedged right. I got you guys wedged right in here. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Not be here.
Well, if you don't mind, could you tell everybody kind of your raid history and how you got into all this great stuff you're doing now?
Yeah. So I started playing the game in Stormblood. I started raiding a little bit in Sigmascape with some FC friends that, let's try out like Savage and stuff. I did not complete that tier. I was healer back then. And then I started raiding a little bit more during AlphaScape. And that's when I was able to complete all 4 floors. And it was the first time that I joined PFs. And by joining PFs, it was a little bit intimidating, especially as being healer. Like, oh my god, what if the party dies because I'm not healing enough? Or I had some people tell me, like, I remember in Omega, in the O12S, like, you also have to do some damage. And I didn't know. Like, I mean, yeah, I have a damage button, but I thought my role was healing, so there's like this process that to get into the savage rating that you have to learn from others.
Wait, you got to O12S without doing any damage in raids?
Well, I was doing a little bit of damage, but the DPS check was not like that steep, so where my damage as a healer would matter. So in O12S, it was like, yeah, okay, you're like just spamming Medica or Medica 2, like you need to do some damage. I was like, okay, I didn't know. I did not know what a GCD was, what clipping or OGCD, like all these terms were completely new to me. And eventually through PF, I joined a group, and they were on Discord, and they're like, hey, if you want, you can join Discord, we'll give call outs and everything, we'll get more organized, which is awesome. And they asked me if I wanted to stay later on, and that's how I found my first static, and I've been with them since like years. I still raid with them. So
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. There is, I didn't think about this, but there is like a third path to really take, and it's like sort of party finder, sort of like an in-between party finder and having a static, which is like link shell groups and Discord groups of people who, like, just lots of people who are familiar with each other, who like just ping each other like, hey, anyone available to do this? But they're like narrowing their list down to people that they know aren't horrible. And so it's like
What do you mean? What do you mean by
enhanced.
that? There's so many good players.
There are so many good players, but there are a lot of fish in the sea as well that are not. If that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, they're the very innovative play styles out there.
Yeah. But I don't want to scare people away from it, right? I mean, Party Finder, we all crap on Party Finder, but it is a legitimate way to do content. It is a legitimate way to go through and get a lot of clears done. I will venture as far. Some people will say that you can clear ultimates in it. I completely disagree, and I know people will claim it every single day, and I will always say, well, that is the enhanced party finder that we're talking about, where you're in a Discord of people who have already cleared it, and it's a little bit different than, hey, let me log in for today and progress on this ultimate. But
I think prog is difficult in PF, especially because like if you're not in Discord with comms or I've cleared I've been doing re-clears in PF, but like you said, it's like always the same people in the PF, so that you see the same people week after week for re-clears, so
yeah,
that's gets a little bit easier.
Well, I mean, you think so, and then you have the people who clear one time, and then it was a very, very heavy-handed clear for them to go through, and they get into their re-clears the next week, and groups don't tolerate more than one or two mistakes. Your first time clearing something, you're gonna make a couple more than two mistakes. Yeah.
I've had parties where 2 like phase 1 wipes or 3 phase 1 wipes, and okay, gotta go. Or they just don't say anything, they just leave. Like, okay, bye,
Light party.
PF.
Despairs.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Party Finder in a little bit. Let's get into that and getting into rating. If you want to get into rating, so again, Party Finder is kind of meant for, I don't want to be in an organized group, right? I want to log in when I'm available, check to see if there are groups ready to go, and try to progress on fights then. I have personally progged that way very many times. And it's an experience, and it can test your patience a lot. But sometimes it works out perfectly fine. I think that where it gets really difficult is the last 2 fights in a Savage tier. Is when it starts to kind of really slow down. The first 2 fights you can kind of make it through there, but every single group that you join, with very few exceptions, because there's always going to be some sort of exception, but very few exceptions, they're going to expect you to know all of the mechanics and all the strategy before you go in there, right? There's very little, hey, come in here without any guide and we'll learn it on the way. Unless if you're in week 1, then you can kind of get away with that a little bit. But after like a couple of days, they're like, no, you need to know this strategy. Whatever the prog point is, you should know.
I think that's another thing that some people, especially if you're new, you might not know what like Uptime Dog and Spriggan mean. So like you have to go somewhere else to look for resources and or videos and stuff. And yeah, BF expects you to already watch a guide, to already know kind of where you're gonna go for prog. So that's something that
that can be pretty intimidating.
The game doesn't tell you.
Looks like another language, and you're like, what is this? Like, what do these abbreviations mean? Like, at all? But hey, but don't worry about it though, because whatever Party Finder lists in their description as the prog point, subtract at minimum 2 major mechanics from that point, maybe 3, and that's the actual prog point of the group.
It's kind of rough. I felt it really bad this most recent tier too when we get into P8S, and I think a lot of people did trying to prog like when they get to that point, because groups just had a lot of issues with that first phase, and getting through it, and you spend like an entire lockout trying to go through this first phase, and that's like your raid night. And it's rough. But then you could say, hey, well, what if I just join like a party that is 2 steps ahead of where I am?
Oh, yeah.
Then you start to use that as a rule for when you're joining Party Finder, and then you get completely crapped on immediately.
Don't do that. You're gonna get blacklisted.
Yeah,
You
they'll
will get
blacklist.
blacklisted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So while that's still the case, I'd say try to learn up to whatever you're going into, and it can be kind of rough. I don't know. I think I did T9 in Party Finder back in the day. It was a long time ago, but I went through T9, and that was a rough one to go through. Because that was the first real. I mean, Twintania was tough, but it was bugged. So T5 was a tough fight, but it was messed up. So I think T9 was the first crazy one.
Do you think the state of PF is pretty much the same as it was back then?
Oh.
Like, a couple of wipes, disband, that's it. See ya.
Oh well, I mean, sorta. Yeah, I mean that mentality of, hey, I have low patience, and leaving. I don't think that's changed too much. I mean, the whole MMO world has changed since back in the day where you couldn't really do party finders or organized groups and stuff like that, because getting into an interface that just lets you meet with random people to do stuff, you had to like yell it out in shout chat or whatever else, trying to find groups and get together.
Yeah, it was like just your server and stuff. I mean, it was I had to have like an alt on each data center too. So there was that. So fortunately, like nowadays, you have the whole DC travel thing. But
oh yeah,
I guess to that point, if you're wondering where all the raid listings are in Party Finder, you got to come to Aether if you're on NA. It was just
It is Ether.
that was just chosen. That was the chosen one. Maybe some on like more on Primal, but like you're not going to find much on Crystal. Everyone just transfers over to Aether.
Primal PF is dead right now. I hope that with 6.4 it will come back. Also, that maybe strats will be a little bit more unified with the DC travel.
Copium, but yeah.
yeah.
Maybe.
Oh, yeah. I guess maybe.
I mean,
that has helped a bit, just being all on like one.
Yeah, I mean it does help because it makes it like a bigger pool overall, and you raid pretty much whenever you want to, as long as you go to Aether. You should be okay. I remember back in the day, I was on a Primal server, and everyone was just like, you didn't have the data center party finders. You had to be on that server, and it was really just Gilgamesh, and that was the raiding server.
That's right.
So I transferred there at one point so I could raid, because it was just so difficult to get raids going on my server, and then I left it as soon as DC stuff came, where you could cross DC stuff. But yeah, when you get into a party finder, I guess like the idea is that you understand mechanics that you're going to be doing, at least like to whatever prog point. I would say it's usually okay to join a fresh group without knowing too much, because most people are just kind of going in there to try to like learn like those first couple of mechanics, and it's okay. But once you hit like a certain wall, there's like certain walls within fights that kind of get clearly defined with mechanics.
I would say even with the fresh groups, they kind of have that expectation that you've at least studied ahead, unless it's like explicitly just says like blind prog. I think even a fresh group, you're prepared.
I put up a party finder that says fresh, no guy need it, just going in.
Oh, that's fine.
I do that every single time.
People also don't read.
Yeah.
Don't read.
Also, I think it's important to know the job that you're playing, like your role. There's like,
yeah.
you know, there's like
Whoa.
striking dummies that you can practice
Yeah.
and, you know, look
You
up
don't pay
resources
their
for your
sub.
rotation.
You don't pay their sub.
Just press your buttons.
That's too much.
So that
Don't
is
compel their playstyle.
it is a good point to bring up, right? It is a really good point to bring up because a lot of people, what is the step below getting into raiding? I mean, some people will bunch extreme into raiding, right? Because I mean, technically, it's 8 people organized to get through a fight, and sometimes those extremes are harder than some of the savage fights. And so that wall kind of beneath that is just dungeons and alliance raids. I mean, what
But no,
else?
I would.
Unreal?
Well,
I
yeah, I
mean-
would just like kind of add on to what Saori is saying is just knowing your role and
Yeah.
knowing your rotation and your opener, your rotation, and your mitigation, and reading your tooltips, and just having some sense of like flow. Like, okay, like, am I going to be staring at my hotbar the entire fight, and now I'm going to be missing mechanics because I don't know how to play my job, like because I'm getting lost hitting my own buttons.
Mhm.
Like, you don't need to be a master, right? You just need to like know how to go through your rotation for, I'd say, at least a 7-minute window, because that'll do your opener, several odd
Mhm.
windows, several burst windows, and a reopener that
Mhm.
covers that span. So I would practice that first
Yeah.
and get
Yes.
really comfortable with the muscle memory.
Yeah. I mean, and also kind of getting into, I mean, we're talking almost like basic stuff before, even party finder, statics, whatever. This is stuff that you just general knowledge need to do before you get into raiding, I guess. Yeah.
It's still getting into raiding though. Many people
No, it
they
is,
don't
yeah.
have those skills.
But I mean, even with just going into a static, like not even in the discussion of the just party finder, this is like affects both sides, right? And so we have new players getting into raiding. This is stuff they kind of initially need to do.
Yeah.
Another thing, I would recommend joining some groups for Unreal and Extreme just to go ahead and do it and go through all that before you get into Savage. Because, I mean, Extreme's going to give you your weapon that will make you a little bit stronger as well. And then going and getting some crafted gear would be pretty good. You know?
Or
It would
normal
be.
rates.
Yeah,
Normal
it would
rates
be.
here, at least.
Yeah,
you know.
normal raid gear would be great too.
And melds.
And food.
Food and melds.
Food and melts. Those
Wait,
are
food?
Food.
yeah.
It's just practice. Why so toxic?
Potions are good. Yeah, I would at least practice with potions. Like healing potions or something, get used to using it. The DPS doesn't matter until you start hitting those DPS checks, which a lot of people don't. They hit mechanic checks early on, and that's their weak point. And potions cost a lot of money.
I'd say potions once you hit enrage. I probably wouldn't use it before then.
But yeah, I mean, use it like high
Yeah.
potions or regular potions or something just to get muscle memory. Yeah.
Practice that in your opener.
Practice
Yeah,
your
exactly.
opener.
That is
Yeah.
a good. Yeah, use a practice potion.
Yeah,
like a
and
cheap thing.
it gets you used to it because there is an oddity with using potions in the middle of a rotation, right? It's not like it doesn't feel smooth or fluid. You have to like hit it, then you're like, all right, well, I'm not gonna press anything for a second.
You do. It's GCD. Then it's wait, and then you start hitting again.
Yeah.
It takes a
Then
while.
you wait and wait, and then you hit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good. It's good to kind of just keep your finger used to pressing potions and stuff because that is something that will matter, especially if you get into raiding like early on. Like if you're going to get into Savage when it comes out, you're probably going to need potions to get clears on those final fights. I mean, it's just what it is. The gear check we want. So fights naturally get nerfed over time, but when they first come out, they're going to be at their hardest. Absolutely the most difficult that they can be. But then they'll start to get nerfed while all the players get better and better gear. They'll become easier. DPS checks won't be as tight and everything else. But that takes a little bit. Like I think, they don't start to calm down. Well, I mean, every week it's like a little bit of a buffer. But it'll be like completely down within the first month or so. First month or two, it's like completely different fights. But mechanics are pretty much like the biggest key after that is just being able to execute all those mechanics. And then you just get really good at DPS, so you can make up for the people who are good at DPS.
That's true. You gotta rely on those party finder heroes.
Yeah.
Those are the
Yeah.
those people are awesome.
And
You need
don't be
those.
afraid to join PFs also.
Mhm.
I feel
Yeah.
like some people might be intimidated by PF, like, oh, I've never raided before. Like, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do? Well, you have to learn somewhere. Like, just go for it.
The best time is week 1, actually, because like no one knows a damn thing, and
It
it's
is.
all blind, and it's very, very active. You could even make your own, and people will join.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, make your own PFs. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then the strats come out, and you have to know what all the
Honestly,
immediate horrible shit strats
well,
are after a couple days.
honestly, yeah, if you make your own and you say like, "Please help," or "I'm new," or whatever, like, odds are you're probably gonna get some veterans that just really like to join party. I look for those kind of parties, like someone who just really needs some help or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are good parties.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like, when we're talking about being nervous and going into it, yeah, making your own party finder is good. It takes time sometimes, right? The first couple of weeks is not going to take so much time as long as you're within the prime time of raiding and everything else. It should be pretty quick. But like even like daytimes can be pretty quick, I think, during the first week. But after the next couple of weeks, people go back to work, so it's just kind of how it is. But let's talk a little bit about being nervous and getting into raiding, because I think that's usually the biggest wall for a lot of people.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
It's not gear. It's not well, sometimes it's being good at the game. It's fear of not being good at the game or not being perfect. I think a lot of people like to have their confidence not stepped on.
It's, I think, the biggest thing that I've seen, or the biggest reason people don't want to raid or do PF or whatever with strangers, especially because it's outside of their comfort zone, is just the fear of wiping and dying. And I say to that, like, all the high end players, all the best players have wiped every which way, hundreds and
I've
thousands
seen
of
Todd
times.
wipe so many ways.
I have absolutely. But we all die. We all wipe the raid, and you just got to learn it's really not that devastating. And I think just like that fear of failure, like, oh no, they're going to kick me or something. But like, especially with like a new group or something, like hopefully they're patient. But like, most people are pretty chill. But you just gotta like get used to the fact you're going to wipe the raid. You're gonna cause a death for yourself or someone else. Like it's okay. That's part of it. You just new pool, new you, keep going.
Yeah.
Part of learning.
Absolutely. And I think the big thing is you're gonna have to get used to people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about telling you you're horrible or getting mad and upset too. It will happen sometimes. It's not all the time. I mean, that is a fear.
Blacklist.
Yeah, that is a fear. Like, it's very difficult sometimes to deal with random people who don't know what they're talking about. And we live in a world where there's a lot of people who don't know what they're talking about. I mean, that's just what it is. And they, when you get into Party Finder, just assume, do your own thing, focus on what you're supposed to do, what your role is supposed to do for that, and everything else. And I honestly, I'm gonna be honest. When I join a Party Finder and they're like, "Hey, you could join this Discord and talk on voice with us," I'm like, "No,
Nope,
no way. I'm in my own world. You guys are NPCs, to be clear."
I'm the main character.
I'm gonna just come in, focus on what I need to do, and I will talk to you, work out some if there's issues or something I need to improve or something else. But I do my own call outs in my head. I like to focus on my own stuff because I just do not want to deal with someone getting on their mic and crunching chips while we're raiding, or like hearing someone's mic right next to their controller.
Stand that. An open mic and you're hearing those sounds, munching, and then just like
yeah,
and then like the keyboard clacking, like it keeps transmitting.
It is not required to be in a Discord voice with people. You can if you want to. You can if you want to, but it is not required. So please don't stress out about that. I will leave parties if they require Discord, and it's okay. You'll just find another party. that is what it is. It's difficult. It's just difficult for me to like deal with that stuff. I'm just over it. I'm even in like a static group. If someone's like doing that, I'll call their shit out immediately because then you're in a Discord voice. You're in voice usually in your static and everything because you're talking to them, you're getting to know them and everything. But in Party Finder, you may never see these people again, and they feel the same way. They may never see you again. They may not care if they piss you off. So I would treat it as if you're joining a group, you're trying to work together with 7 random people to see if you can get a clear. But I don't know. Sayori?
Yes.
Do you feel that same way about Discord and Party Finder and everything else?
I personally do like joining Discords. Well, like sometimes depends if I want to like talk to people or not. If I'm, if I know the fight, I probably won't. Um, but like I said, when I first started raiding, and I was super scared of healing and letting people die and stuff. I did join that this Discord, and that ended up becoming my static for like 4 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
So you can make a good bonds with people, like find a group and stuff, keep raiding. Like they might tell you, hey, stay in the Discord. Next time if we need someone, like, you can jump in and get your clears and stuff. So it's not always the worst thing. You can also get resources and stuff, like if you're new to raiding, or ask questions and stuff. But yeah, it's definitely not required, and I've done fights without Discord as well. So it's really
Yeah,
up to you.
might be a little different as a streamer because like we joining random discords might be risky because people might say some like choice words you don't really know,
I mean,
Oh
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. When I'm
or they don't
streaming,
they might
I
even not know that you're streaming. So
yeah,
it's like,
no, no. If I'm
but
streaming, I don't
if I'm off
join.
stream, I'll probably join a Discord or something.
Nope.
Yeah,
Maybe,
I
but
won't.
yeah.
don't let him.
Yeah, I do I have a complete avoidance of it, 100%. Whether I'm streaming, not streaming, and I mean it is different. I mean we do have to put that alter perspective out there as common knowledge that we're streamers. Is sometimes we have a different opinion on some of this stuff too. But I mean a lot of times when I do Party Finder, I join groups and I look for one spot to be filled, and that's me, and I join it, and then I'm in a pure Party Finder group. There's nothing special about it, anything. Every once in a while I'll get like, is that V Frosty? And I'm like, no.
I'm talking
No.
about.
I'm like, what are you talking
Yeah,
about, dude?
I get recognized a bit now.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
It's. I joined a UCOP party the other day in PF, and they're like, "Oh my god, I saw your top clear." I was like, "Oh." And it was like a clear 4-2, and yeah, we got it. It was
Nice.
really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nah. But anyways, yeah, getting back to kind of just being nervous and getting into Party Finder. I mean, most of the stuff, when you're getting in there, you like I was saying, and I think we're all kind of saying here is that you join in the Party Finder, and there is just a level of risk of negative interactions with people. And you can report them. That's one. Right? If it's really bad, you can report them. And Square Enix actually takes that stuff kind of seriously. They're pretty they don't tolerate harassment and really crappy behavior because that's what the Final Fantasy XIV community is supposed to be known for and everything else. But you could run into it. But when you go in, just make sure you're joining the party that fits the expectations of what you want to do in that group. Right? And that's why, sorry, doing a high five to adjust my camera again.
Okay. Here.
Yeah.
Five.
Okay. I guess the big thing that I want to harp on, and I want to hear your thoughts on as well, is when you start having that kind of like negative interaction and you're feeling crappy in a Party Finder. Do you guys call it and just say, hey, I'm not feeling good, I'm just not going to do this anymore, and give yourself a little bit of a break, or do you just go on to the next group and you just keep grinding it out?
Oh, I stay for the memes. That'll be content.
True. Okay, for streamer perspective, yeah, you stay for the peeps.
Oh yeah, I get some gems after that. Yeah.
True.
Just look up.
I mean, yeah, for stream, yeah, it's content, But if you're like in a PF, like Like before I was streaming, for example, I would not put up with it. I would just leave, blacklist the person that was rude, and then move on to the next group.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to.
Oh yeah, don't waste
to-
don't waste your time. Like honestly, like, if it's a group that's memeing too much or if they're being toxic, they just dip out. Like don't waste your time with
There's
that.
another group. And I would say, yeah, blacklisting is pretty important too when you get into it. Just because, like, sometimes you'll just start running into the same people. Like when I first started trying to party finder top, we were trying to get through phase 1, get into phase 2, and everything else. And I kept group would disband. I joined another group. Group would disband. I joined another group and just go in that. And a couple of people would join into the group, kind of cycle through these with me. And then they just all of a sudden they're like, Frosty, you need to get your shit together and figure out and read up on the mechanics and everything. And then I was thinking, I haven't made any mistakes at all. And they're like, yeah, you clearly you're not getting the tethers right. I'm like, someone stole my tether. You can't see anything that's happening.
Yeah,
you're just blaming
people
shit.
don't know. They don't. They see the wrong thing. They just see someone dies, but they don't see like what led to that. It's probably someone missing a stack, or someone else did something. They're out of position, and then you're just the unfortunate result of someone else's action. And they're like, "Oh, well, that guy died. He's bad. Why are you dying?
Yeah,
He'll kick you."
Yeah, I've had
We'll see
people.
what's going on.
I've had people kick me out of groups too before, and like, I either have made minimal or no mistakes. It's just literally they don't know what's happening either.
No,
and
they don't.
You're just gonna have bad interactions, and it's not. I'm saying this just to get you prepped. I guess get whoever cares about hearing this get prepped that you will run into it. But honestly, it's not that bad. A lot of people don't talk at all. They just go in. They just want to get the clear. They're just like you, right? They just want to go in there, prog, and go forward, or they want to help. I mean, you have a lot of people, like Todd was saying, that looks for parties to help
all the time. I really like finding those almost like people that are close to a clear. I'll hop into those or different prog points. In fact, excuse me. In fact, a great thing to do, especially if you're like feeling kind of iffy about a fight. Look, let's say you are close to a clear, but you're kind of fuzzy on some of the earlier mechanics. Join a prog party for earlier stuff, or if you want to learn a different role,
right?
Join those, and that takes the pressure off. It's like you can kind of go through those motions again. You're like, all right, and then no harm, no foul. You're not going to piss too many people off.
I mean, like doing back prog to help other groups on their prog, so you can practice yourself.
Yeah.
Like when I was doing P8S and Party Finder, and welcome everybody from OK Mage's stream. I hope you guys. We're here talking about. It's slash shout out. You have to do slash shout out. I don't have a custom command. I'm sorry, Todd. Modding while on the show too. You're doing great.
Oh my god,
you're doing great.
Told you I just work here.
But the really cool thing about it is it feels good to learn those mechanics, get better at those mechanics. Then when you join the other groups, you don't make those mistakes, and you feel so much better. And you actually, I did that so much at P8S, so much that like even in like P2 groups, like if I was like on gosh, I can't even remember because I've left that fight in dustbin. P8S. When you get to the first like intermission part on the second phase, I was like, you know what? I am just going to join P1 clear parties. I've cleared P1. I feel okay about it. There's some stuff I want to like get better at. And I would just join P1 clear parties for P8S. Well, I hate the P's and all of this, but phase 1 for P8S. And I got really good at phase 1. I feel like I got pretty good at phase 1. To where I can call out mechanics if I need to, do it with my hands tied behind my back, everything else. And I don't know, it's kind of fun to execute those kind of mechanics as well. And I learned a lot about healing. Like this whole last tier, I wanted to learn healer, right? And I did it in Party Finder. I wanted to learn how to do that. And you start to learn how to adjust to the other healers without communicating, where like, oh, well, people went down a little bit here. How do I like solo heal this if I had to solo heal this and all this other crap? And it is, it's an experience, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm going to let you guys know, when we're talking about Party Finder, healing in Party Finder is literally the most enjoyable experience I've had in this game.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, whenever I find the Party Finder like prog groups, I go on Astro. It's so good. I'm also gonna be picking up Sage because I want to have a shield healer ready too.
Yeah.
So that'll be my next arc. But I love being the healer in those groups, man, because you can really just save the run and keep things going.
Yeah.
Or yell at people, because that is your right as a healer, to be angry all the time.
Yeah. So you shouldn't be scared of Party Finder. I don't think you should be scared of Party Finder. A lot of people are afraid of it. You just have to figure out the right condition to join and like make sure you're meeting the expectations. Learning whatever the Party Finder strat is, even if it's garbage. Just learn it and don't fight on it. I always, before like I get in there, I figure out back when E8S was a thing, I made sure I knew the 2 or 3 different ways people wanted to do Lights Rampant, right? They were horrible. Some of them were horrible.
Oh, yeah.
But I learned them and I knocked those out and I didn't complain because you always want to learn whatever is the most popular strategy is. It doesn't matter if it's efficient or not.
I got to give it to Crystal DC during E8S because they did Ayatori. They did Sharingan Ayatori.
Ayatori was the best.
That was the best one.
Yeah, I agree.
And whenever I make PF groups, I tried to give them, well, what I feel are the better strats that just you can handle. And some people, they come around, they're like, oh, wow, this is why were we doing it the way before? Like P6S, I teach, I call it Rubicante cut. Because if you've done Rubicante X, you know how to do the limit cut. And you don't have to do the crappy diamond cut BS. Because you just go northwest, northeast, the whole south half of the arena is safe. You don't have to cleave 4 different spots. Like you just cleave 2 spots.
Yeah.
And if you've done Rubicante, you know how to do it. And you don't even have the tether mechanic in that. You just go to the spot, come back. That's it. Minimal movement.
It is funny. You'll see some of these strategies. They only exist because they're slightly familiar to a mechanic that was in a fight before, and people just reuse the strategy from that instead of
it back forever.
Yeah. It's insane.
I feel like with the strats also, like people might not know what the let's say the norm for PF is diamond, right? Like how do you learn the other better strats? So like you're gonna see it on the party description, but if you're new, how do you know? Well, I think that's where maybe you can go into like one of the Final Fantasy XIV category streams and just ask your streamers or ask your FC or ask like the PF leader. You can send them a tell, hey, what is this strat? Sometimes they might link you to a toolbox or a video that is referring to that specific strat. So don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah.
Also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think it is absolutely. It's good to go. I'm always going to say, please go to Twitch directory and watch streamers.
Yeah.
And the Twitch directory, support your Final Fantasy XIV streamers, 100%. But there's so many different ways. I mean, you could definitely join party finders as well, and join discords of groups that, like, this is what I did way back in the day. Is I used to do Party Finder all the time, and then if I had a good experience with people, I'd ask them to join my link shell. I mean, it's a little bit different now. Discord wasn't popular back then, but I would have them join my Discord, and I would just keep adding people to that list, and then just when we're going to do something, I would say, hey, we need a couple people. These are the roles we need. Can someone join in? And then I have this curated list, sort of, right, where they could join in and help me do this. And eventually, I made a static from that. And I think that's kind of a natural progression, is like getting into raiding. Sometimes you just kind of start with Party Finder to get your feet wet and everything else. Then you want something a little bit more consistent. You have some times that you can slot out, and you join into a static. You know, other people never want to get into a static, but it is good. It does feel nice to be in a static. I mean, both of you are in a static together now, right?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
We're 6.4.
Yeah. I mean, you get to know people, you make friends, you make some of the best friends you probably will ever have. I'll backtrack the WoW, right? When I played WoW back in the day when it was a relevant game. Just kidding.
You too?
Just kidding.
I'm out of here. Blizzard Stimp.
Just kidding. Well, I joined a guild, right? And I raided with them. And these are literally the friends I have today. I've moved to an area that was close to where most of them live, and they're part of my life. They're major parts of my life. I hang out. Our children play together. I mean, it's not like this small thing. It's a pretty big deal. Like life-changing relationships that you'll get from just gaming with
Yep,
people on a regular
True.
basis.
I don't even leave my house, so
exactly.
this is the only human interaction I have.
Mm.
Okay,
That
that's
and
fair.
awkward conversations with like a cashier or something. You
Yeah.
too. You know.
Yeah. But that being said, I'd recommend it if like you have the availability to do it, because it's fun. It can be stressful too, though, because you feel like you're getting into a permanent situation where you're having to not piss people off, because if you do, you could be out of this organized group that does this content. And you will run into issues, and people will leave, and people will join, and everything else. But if you have the ability to do it, I would recommend doing it. Unless you're crazy like me and you want to heal Party Finder and you're obsessed and masochistic about it. And so you prog in Party Finder. But you guys decided to join a static together
Yeah.
and tackle this content. Why? I mean, it sounds like a stupid question, but why do you prefer being in a static than just doing it in Party Finder alone?
Well, I think for the most part, it's just people that you've played with that you're familiar with and you can have fun with
Mm-hmm.
and just enjoy progging together. I think there's something to be said about that. You just want to have a nice
Mhm.
experience, and you can banter and talk with each other. Um, and I guess the other part for me would just be like the consistency and being able to, I guess, rely on getting gear each week and just having a more fair method of loot
Mhm.
distribution rather than just rely on RNG, because even if you go like 8 weeks in Party Finder, and let's say you clear all those 8 weeks, you could still like walk away with maybe like 1 or 2 drops,
Yeah.
if that.
You do get gear a little
Yeah.
bit faster. Well, I mean, sometimes you get
Yeah.
gear faster in Party Finder if you're lucky,
Mhm.
but it
If
just
you're
depends.
lucky.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's just a little bit more consistent for me also. I
yeah.
think some people might find that having a set schedule works better. So like if you're busy, like for example in the mornings, and you can get a group that can raid in the evenings, then that might work for you. So it might be
True.
better to have a static to raid for set hours, and then you don't have to worry about like sitting on PF waiting for a while, and then raiding for a little bit, and then
Mhm.
Hmm.
um, so it's like also more consistent with the schedule.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. And it may get awkward for a while, but once you get in a groove, I mean, you may raid with these people for years. If everyone like really enjoys it and sticks around, and you stick around too, I guess, raiding,
Yeah.
you could be with these guys for a while, and they start to feel they feel like legitimate friends, and they are. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
But
The first static that I joined that I told you, I've been friends with them for like almost 5 years, and we
yeah,
still raid together.
yeah.
So
Until now,
you
you
can
you
make
ch-
really
you
good
dropped
friends.
him for Todd.
Well, they're not raiding this time.
Oh, okay, all right.
They're
Uh,
just raiding the side. Excuse me.
but yeah, no, I think that it does become it a lot better of a situation, and all the gripes you have about Party Finder and everything else, they start to go away. Uh, and you get to do some weird stuff too sometimes that are not Party Finder strat. You'll have people who shouldn't be doing things do it just because they player skill wise or more comfortable doing it versus another person, and it's okay. You're able to actually flex into what's not your typical expected strategies for Party Finder, which can be kind of cool until you go in Party Finder and you're like, well, my static does this. That kind of, that's the meme.
Yeah.
But
Don't be that guy.
That's, I
Don't do
mean, that, but we are kind of like that though. Like at the start, even like the week one groups, like because there's going to be static strats, and that's why I like to go into Party Finder as soon as I can, just to kind of like break that. Because if you spend all 8 weeks or something, or even 4 weeks with your static, when you go into Party Finder, you are that guy. Well, in my static,
that. Yep.
Yeah.
And you have to learn, for example, for tanking for me, recently I started main tanking a top, which I never did before. So it's like a learning process. I like Frosty said, I joined a group that was like earlier prog, so then I could practice some stuff. Like you have to adjust in PF pretty much. You have to know how to adjust to the group.
And,
It's
yeah,
not like
and,
my group does it this way. No.
and I had to learn PF strats for my top clear this
Yeah.
past week.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm in my static for top, which again I've decided that top is not meant for Party Finder. Again, it can be done. I'm tired of that argument. It can be done, sure, whatever. Fantasyland, what 0.1%, whatever.
It's hard.
Uh,
Man. Yeah.
but it's meant for statics, for sure. It's a fight that's meant for organized progression, not the chaos of Party Finder.
Chaos.
God damn it. But so we have a group going for that, and kind of the requirement is, even though I am kind of like against the whole Party Finder doing top and Party Finder, we do Party Finder strats. That's it. We do all the stuff that Party Finder would normally do, and that gives you the ability to go out and practice if you want in Party Finder. If you could find a group and somehow get there, you're doing the exact same strats you're doing within your raid. And so that can be interesting. Savage is a little bit different, just because you could really get, if you have an organized group, you can get through it pretty, not easily. I don't want to say that. You
There's
can
a
do
better
some
chance
funky
of
stuff.
failure.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
do some funky stuff with it and get away with it and not have to
Yeah.
use any kind of supplemental progression like in Party Finder or anything else. But doing it with a static, I still remember back, man. I don't want to. You know what? I'm gonna make a rule for myself. I'm not gonna do comparisons and stuff without doing full raid giant explanations of everything that happened in Heaven's Ward and A Realm Reborn, because I find myself doing that all the time. Like, I'll start saying, I remember back at Heaven's Ward, I'm like, half the people watching this show haven't played Heaven's Ward back in the day. They don't know all this crap. I need to
Man,
start doing recent
Old
comparisons.
Astro, just old rotations.
Oh, balance.
Very extensive. I remember that.
Accuracy?
Accuracy, yeah.
So you got to be a little bit more careful. I got to be a little bit better about that, especially when I'm doing a show literally about getting into rating in Final Fantasy XIV. I can't expect the people who are listening to understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about when back in the day in Heaven's Ward, right?
Back in the before times,
Back in my
bosses would crit. Hell yeah. Just use awareness. Just use awareness, man.
Yeah.
What were your vitality melds, Lamau?
Oh gosh. All right. So, anyways, what was my point? I'm trying to remember what my point was. Oh yeah, I was going to go to the Godwalker and say how was the machinist doing a Godwalker, and it didn't make any sense, and blah blah blah. There's stuff that like you'll find like it's like this is the way this role should do this. It's not going to be there. Oh, and I guess it depends. We didn't mention this. There is a difference between EU and NA party finders.
Oh sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's waymarks. It's the biggest difference.
It's the marker dance, or
Yeah.
can you read?
Yeah.
And I've
That's
tried
awesome.
introducing macros to NA. I tried, and people join.
too.
I even say in the description, read the macro, because I think it's easier, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
People jump
It
in
saves
and they're
so
like,
much
what are,
time.
what are the strats? I'm like, did you read? Then I post the macro, and then one guy, I remember this, he goes, I just don't. I'm like, what? Read? Yeah, I just don't. And then he left.
Don't be
So,
that
I
guy.
left the group, man. I'm like,
so I literally push the marker, the markers to be like a prominent thing in NA for the meme. I just want it to exist and never go away. I just want it to be there. I don't want it to fade away. I love the marker dance. I love throwing down the markers and everyone going in their spot and kind of awkwardly trying to figure it out, and everyone running to the spot to try to get to the healer 1 or healer 2 spot first to see if they could do it. Whoever,
Well, that's why SE put in all the extra marker slots because of NA, because you need like 6 markers for one fight, so you can just do the setup.
yeah. Yep. Yep. I think it's a lot of fun. And so I keep pushing it. So get used to it. I would recommend figuring out macros and learning the strategies via macros. Because it's one day NA is gonna fall. The way markers aren't gonna last forever. They're gonna go away.
No, they're not. They're gonna do the marker dance. They'll find a way.
Yeah. One way we'll no, maybe 7-0. You never know. 7-0. Yeah.
Hoping.
But that being said, anyways, static life and everything. I don't getting into rating intimidation never goes away. Talking about statics, talking about party finders and everything else. When people get into rating, what are other things that they really need to know and focus on? I mean, those are the big core things, right? Being afraid, being prepared. Those are huge things. And figuring out how you want to tackle it, whether you want to organize with people or whether you don't want to organize with people. What are the other? Since you guys have a lot of rating experience, what are the other things people mention and talk about when they're getting into rating that they have issues with?
They have issues with other than like the interpersonal stuff, I guess. Using mitigation and not understanding how or why people are wiping probably, and they just initially just blame the healers. But it's the layering of mitigation, and some people don't use their addle or feint or reprisal, or like they don't use that stuff, and they just, why did we die? Well, you took a massive AoE and there was no mitigation. Don't blame the healers. You can only do so much with shields, right? You can only, even if they're topped off with shields, they can still die. Which, to my next point, use food for the, if anything, for the 10% vitality. That's going to be 7k health extra that you're going to have on your person. That will save your ass in practice during AoEs and stuff. You can't practice if you're dead, all right? If you die to an AoE, especially early on in a tier, you're using crafted gear. You don't have the benefit of like the higher level, eye level gear, and you're not going to have that vitality. You need to have it. You need to just survive.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, game prepared and everything, but food is something that's not a question. There is no question about using food. You just use food. Potions you can discuss. You can say, oh, it's a waste of money because DPS checks, we're not going to, whatever. Food is literally an expectation. It is having the proper food for your job.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Always.
And it's not that expensive, man. Potions could be expensive. Food, you'll figure it's not that bad. It's really not that bad.
Get the cheap
or
food.
You can craft it your own.
The 10% vitality, that's it. Just find food with 10% vitality. That's it. Like, it doesn't have to be expensive food.
Right.
And it's so easy to level crafters too.
Yeah.
You can just make them.
Oh, don't. I can't be on the show.
FC buffs to extend your food duration. There's like the squadron stuff too. You can extend like the food. Like there's different ways to like make the food last longer.
Yeah. I don't have my crafters leveled up like at all. So we got it. Maybe during the lull we'll fix it, but I have not had time. So I mean, we're also looking at this as this is when we get into the alter perspective, right? The streamers versus the non-streamers. I was begging for time to be able to play this game for like the last couple of years, to be honest with you. And so like crafting was never a thing that got me on. Raiding was. And everything else. But when it came into like crafting and leveling other stuff, it is easy, but I would suggest that it's not a requirement or something that you have to do. It is a benefit for sure. It is a benefit. And it's something that you could go for, but I wouldn't put it on people to have crafters leveled up.
Yeah, no, it's not a requirement. I'm saying,
come on, Sayori, stop telling people to level their craft.
If you want to save up Gil, you can do your Grand Company daily deliveries and level really fast. But that's just me.
The dailies are a pretty good way to level those up, and I just initially leveled one just so I could repair within the raid.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm doing this for chat though here. So Sayori, Saori, sorry, sorry.
7 already.
Sorry, sorority,
9.
sorry,
Sayori.
Sayori. I say Sayori, and then you say it's wrong. Sayori.
No, that's right.
Everybody was telling me Sayori was wrong. I was like, I'm never gonna say it right if it's not Sayori. Sayori is easy. Sayori.
Or Saori.
Saori.
If you want to say the O as an O, or yeah,
say O as an O.
O.
Sayori.
Yeah.
Sword Art Online Ori.
Yeah. Sao.
Sal. Saoi.
Yeah.
Saori.
Sao. Just cut it in half. Sao.
Sal. Okay, we can do Sal. I can do Sal. Better call Sal. Better call Saori. All right. We get back on topic here. Hopefully I made people lose count, so it doesn't even matter. They can keep trying to count, but I did enough there. So I just imagine you with a little ticker. There's
You need a count command. You need something like exclamation point name, and it just counts like whenever you mess up someone's name. I mean, people would love that.
I mean, it would literally be every sentence I ever say ever.
But it just retroactively, you just make it start at like
a billion.
I don't know, 6,000 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
6,000 to start.
Just to start.
I guess a good thing to talk about
Slappy.
getting into rating is there's different ways of approaching it depending on the role you're going in as well. And you can separate it into 3 different roles, but we could really separate it into 5 different roles. I mean, you have DPS, healer, and tank, but it's really like DPS, healer. Oh, I'm sorry, tank, healer, melee, range DPS, and magical DPS. Because no matter what group you join, you have to have those 5. Otherwise, you're griefing your party, apparently, right? It's a meme, it's a challenge, it's a joke if you don't have 5 of those in there. All 5. And that's because of the 1%.
You can have 2 melees, you can have 2 casters, you can have 2 fist range, but as long as you have 1 of each for the percentage increase buff, then you're good.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that you have to keep in mind when you're joining party finders and you see, are you joining static groups, and they're like, hey, well, they already have a magical range, I can't join because I'm also a magical range. That's not always true, right? So you need your 2 healers, you need your 2 DPS. The 4 just have to capitalize 3 distinct roles, then the 4th one is whatever the fuck you want, all right? What is Todd doing over there? Are you okay?
Sorry. XFFing.
Are you XFF? What do you just randomly start freaking out? And I don't know why. All right.
It said, Todd, do this. I'm dumb streamer. I do
Are
things.
you chatting with chat while we're chatting here? Are you being?
Yes.
Are you letting chat distract you?
Well,
right
they said
now?
they would give subs if I did XFFing. So
I don't see it happening, so I don't believe.
Pay up. Pay the XFFing tax, all right?
Any primers in chat?
All right,
Jeez.
if we all do XFFing, people will sub, right?
I am
ready.
I don't know how to
3,
do it.
2, 1.
Not nope.
Look, there's one right there.
I've already embarrassed. I've literally.
Give in.
I've
Give
already
in to the
embarrassed
XFFing.
myself recently. I don't need more embarrassment. I've already had a really hard embarrassment, so I'm good. I'm good for a bit.
Streamers, that's what we do. It's okay.
I can't do it. Oh, jeez. All right. So we are way off topic. I'm gonna try to bring us back. Different roles.
Okay.
Different roles. We got different roles. So tanks doesn't matter, right? It could be one of any. You just have to have different takes. 2 different takes. Right? 2 different takes. Healers, you need 1 shield, 1 regen, and then DPS 3 distinct plus 1 whatever.
Yes.
And then
you repeat it. DPS.
Or no healers. Lamau.
We're not going to
If it's
talk about
up,
that.
then no healer.
It's not no healers.
We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to
Easy
talk
game.
about it. You know.
Yeah.
You can meme in many different ways. And jobs overall are not going to be like, hey, you can't bring this job unless if the group is an idiot. I mean, that's it. Groups
Yeah,
could
and if
be
it's
idiots.
Sayori's group, no machinists. They're banned, blacklisted. No machinists.
No! Machinist is good now,
Oh, okay.
right?
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Oh.
got you.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I feel like we've devolved. The show is falling apart, guys. I don't think we're going to be able to push the topic anymore.
No. Keep going. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
All right, Todd, tell me about if
Rating.
you're trying to get into raiding as a tank, what are some things you need to know get into the tank role, into either Party Finder, statics, whatever, just get into raiding as a tank?
Like if you're brand new, you never tank Savage or something?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Well, again, I probably doing an extreme or something. Just, you need to learn, because the game doesn't really prepare you for this.
For
in normal-
tanks,
like,
right? Yeah.
Yes, a shirk macro, and using your personals and having macros for your co-tank to use those personals, like your nascent flash, your TBN, things like that. People don't think about that, or not even just like your co-tank, but having macros handy where you can give those the smaller, like the 25-second cooldown or whatever it is, your short timer on people in the party. You need to get used to that. You can actually help a run. You can help with mitigation, especially early on in a raid tier. There's going to be squishy DPS, the casters, the fizz range. You might need to TBN them more often or nascent them during
That's
AoEs.
right.
It's still just, it's not enough. So
It's so useful.
using reprisal, using a shirk macro, using your mitigation for yourself and for people in the party, and just you need to need to know that. And the other thing I see with new tanks, it's very common, is they see the tank buster and they're like, oh shit, and then they start start mashing all of their mitigation. But Rampart's 20-second, and your
I was gonna say that.
90-second big cool at 30%. That's 15 seconds. You have time. When the buster's coming, start weaving in your mitigation earlier, so you're not panicking or pressing it late, because that cast can go off and you're still hitting things. Especially if you have to shirk, and especially if they keep doing this whole 2-minute bullshit where you're also having to use your burst while midding. Like, you need to have that prepped before the buster so you can continue pressing and you're not octo weaving.
I would almost debate that a little bit, because when you use your mitigation, you want to time it. Depending on the fight, it depends on the fight and the timing of everything. But if you time it right before, like right when it should register, like halfway to the cast bar or something else, you get the most use out of it. Then it hits some autos afterwards, right?
Well, yeah, it's going to depend on the mechanic, the attack. I mean, some you can cast early, so it lines up better like later on, or some you have to wait until, like, you've done P8S, like with a tank buster, you have to time your invuln at the last possible second of the cast, so it extends for those autos. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got you.
It's situational. Like, for example, in P5S, if you're main tanking, you can use Rampart way early before the first buster, because when you're moving the boss to the corner, there's a set of autos. So if you hit Rampart super early, then your co-tank is gonna Voke, so you're not gonna take any autos afterwards. So then that mitigation was better time to use. Right.
That's probably the other thing, and Saori probably knows this really well, but new tanks probably don't know provoke timing, not just shirk, but like provoke timing. They provoke after the buster, and very often, that means there's going to be an auto attack on the main tank with a vulnerability, and that auto attack is going to instantly kill them because they have that vulnerability, and the provoke is late.
Yeah.
So provoke in the cast bar, and also provoke has to be before you shirk. So if you're the tank that has to shirk, you have to wait for the provoke. You can look at the party list enmity, and you're gonna see it change for the tank with the provokes. Then you shirk, and then you give the rest of the aggro to the main tank. Because if not, you're gonna be fighting with aggro. Later on, you can practice with like taking off stance and putting it back on. It's safer, but first, just make sure the provoke is first.
Yeah. I think that's really what it comes down to with tanks, is learning the timings of an ability. It's not as simple as just press the button and you're done. And so that's an extremely good point. It's just learning how to hit a button so it efficiently works with the fight and can be up later at a certain time or whatever it may be. And also you could use mitigations when there's not tank busters up if it works out as well. That could make that pillow damage a little bit less softer of a pillow. And that could be good for the healers.
And I think I also see this, especially this raid tier busters have the a bleed tied to it. So some tanks just they hit their invuln and they're like, I'm good, right? And then they have like a 10 or 15-second bleed unmitigated. Yeah, they survived the buster, but now the healer is constantly having to babysit their health because they're getting chipped away by autos and a bleed.
Yeah.
So mitigate that as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, just learning everything that you can mitigate, how you can help as a fight with your support. I mean, every single job should figure that out, right? Every single job has some level of supporting the fight and making it better. I will also say with tanks, also figure out what your co-tank's doing, so you don't overlap reprisals or anything else, and there's just ways that you guys could work together. That works a lot better in a static party finder. You have to wing it a little bit more because you never know what you're going to get. But with statics, you can actually figure out how to get into a proper groove to where it's insane mitigation.
Just be like, I'll get first rep, and then just kind of go from there. Just take turns
alternate
things. Alternate,
yeah. Then when getting into healers, it's the other really nerve-wracking one, right? That's the other one everyone's like, I don't want to do it, it's so scary. Healing is probably the easiest role in the game. It's not that hard, guys. It's not that hard. It really isn't. Especially if you're in a static, healing is the easiest role. Everyone's like, hey, make sure the healer doesn't have to do this mechanic. You do all the simple stuff because people are like, hey, we don't want healers to mess up. And life's just easy. It's cruising. You're just like, whatever. You just make it through the content. Party Finder is different. Statics, it's easy. I mean, you learn how to press 1 a lot eventually in statics. What? It is. I'm going to be honest. I think healing is a lot easier than people make it out to be. And it depends. Once you learn your rotations, right, and you're just learning how to OGCD heal and press 1. That's what it comes down to. I think that people get so scared about letting people die and everything else, but
I think, if you're a new healer and you're in Party Finder, I would just say overheal, GCD heal. Until you're comfortable, and then start peeling those layers back and doing more damage, and then relying on your OGCDs, like Frosty's saying.
Yeah. A lot of my healing is learning how to solo heal in Party Finder. So that's why it's a little bit different. In Party Finder, if you can learn how to semi-solo heal, then you'll have a lot more success no matter who your other healer is. You don't have to completely solo heal. You just have to, like, do enough to, like, keep everyone alive. And I will say, doing shield healer, you're more successful with that than not being with shield healer. Because you can put shields up on everyone, and you always have some level of mitigation for everything. Just at the ready. Regen healers, you can bring everybody back up, but you won't have that extra little level of shielding. So I love Sage. I play Sage in Party Finder right now. And I think it is literally the best job to play if you want to do Party Finder healing. Which honestly is there's not a lot of shield healers out there.
Oh no.
There just aren't.
That has the most responsibility, I would say, out of the healers, or even anyone in the group.
It's difficult finding healers on PF.
Yeah.
If you're a healer and you want to start doing PF, just do it. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid. I mean, eventually, overheal and eventually learn what you could pull back. Because I do that all the time. I'm like, why am I pressing this button? And then sometimes I wait And then like everyone's healed back up, and like, why did I do an extra heal here? The regen ticks up. I mean, that's a really big thing to take into account too. Regen does a lot of work.
It does. It does. Yeah, a new healer,
Yeah.
if they think that, oh, you need to be topped off like all the time, you will eventually find the cadence of the fight and like when the damage is coming, and you can just hit your regen and then you're fine. It's like, oh, well, we already had this big AoE. We're not going to have something for another 30 seconds, or maybe just the tanks, and you can let the regions kind of do its thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to. They don't need to be topped off right away, unless there's like some back-to-back AoE, another AoE.
Yeah.
You'll
And then
release.
you just save your OGCDs that do mass heals for when the next hit's going to come, and you're okay. You
Yeah.
probably, if there are regen afterwards, people eventually get top back off, and it's great. Once you map that stuff out and you figure, I mean, learning can be kind of rough and scary because you're letting people die because you're missing something or you don't understand the abilities or anything else, and you're like running around. It's all hectic trying to figure out your own mechanic dance where you're trying to go to the right spot and everything else. But once you get in there, it's not too bad. In Ultimate, just to let you know, Phase 1, I haven't cleared it yet, so I'm not talking big and crazy. I haven't even cleared a fight.
Oh, you're fine, bro.
But like the first heals, you do a handful OGCD heals, and then you do some more heals as you're doing like one mechanic spinning around. But it's your main focus is just trying to pump out, again, whatever damage you can the entire time. A lot of people, like Sayori was talking about earlier, that she didn't really know about doing damage for a while as a healer, like as it being important, but it does a lot of work. If someone dies,
You need to do damage.
right?
Yeah.
If someone dies or there's a tight DPS check or something else, your damage changes you going into the next phase and doing more and learning, whether you're in Party Finder or not. And so learning how to press less GCDs is usually the goal of a healer as you're progressing through a fight. You want to start making sure everyone stays alive, then figure out how to keep people alive without hitting your GCDs and saving those for damage. Yeah. But okay, that's it. Sorry, I talked a lot.
No. And I'd say kind of related to the whole healer thing, but if you are a DPS, especially for your range, don't be a Narnia. Do not be a Narnia. Even though you're ranged and you think, oh, I'll just back away from the AoEs or the mechanics that are happening near the boss, you need to come in for buffs and heals. Now, I think that will be addressed. They said they're going to extend the radius of
the range.
some of the things, the range of those things. That will be nice.
30 yards.
Yeah, that's super nice. But still, I don't know if that's going to apply to all the heals though. But just make sure you're within range of your healer.
I think the range doesn't need to be increased. It is part of the game.
I like the buff range.
It's part of the game. Figure out how to group up, man.
But if they design the arena where you have to be in like light groups separate from each other during a mechanic, that sucks.
Figure it out how to optimize it. Put problems in there. Things don't line up cleanly.
You can. I mean, you can.
It is simplifying
dog
it.
first, you just wipe.
It is simplifying it.
Dog first, you just go to the wall.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Don't leave me hanging. My daughter can't say bye yet, but she can high five me. So I don't know if that tells you anything about my priorities as a father here. Anyways, so the other thing is DPS. I mean, you kind of need to talk to DPS into different roles and not just DPS in general, because melee works a little bit different than physical range, which works a little bit different than magical range. Just a little bit, though. Melee, you got to hit positionals, but you also have True North. There's a lot.
True North. Yeah, especially in top. You have so many uses of True North. You never run out. Except effing.
Except when you do.
Except when you do.
For new melees for Savage, I would say just prioritize mechanics first before grading. Once you figure out timing for snapshots and everything, then you can start optimizing a little bit more your rotation. But if you're new to a fight, then yeah, prioritize mechanics.
Yeah.
Your healers won't hate you. And yeah.
And I would say for melee, late weave True North right before your combo finisher that has the positional requirement, because that will allow you to hit that positional and then the next combo. It'll last that long. It should for
See,
like 2 positionals.
that's something that I didn't know also when I started playing, like the late weaving or early weaving compared
Oh
to,
yeah.
or if you like, I had no idea, and I don't know, maybe some people can relate. Like, what's
Mhm.
an like so two OGCDs you want, and then the second OGCD slot, like what is the, like, oh, no mercy, you had to hit late because of blah blah, or before like blood weapon delirium, right? Like,
You yeah,
and
you got to do
I
that
had no idea.
with raid buffs. I do that with like
Yeah.
trick attack, especially because if I do an early weave, then I risk missing a GCD under trick, and that might happen or be the case for many other buffs if you do like an early weave. When that's not just especially if it's like a raid wide buff. That's 8 GCDs that are gonna miss that buff because you did an early weave. But that's kind of nitty gritty, not like requirement
Yeah, but
really.
it's little things that you can ask about and, you know, find out as you go. So just jumping into BF, you'll find people that tell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many subs for you to do XFFing?
100 tier 3s.
100 tier 3s?
100 tier
Yo. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
If you guys do 100 tier 3s, we'll get it, and it'll be like horrible.
Shaking your head. It's shaking your head.
It's shaking my head. I guess so.
Rusty, pretend like you have you went swimming and there's water in your ear. But smile while doing it. Can you do that for me?
I don't know.
You'll get 5 gifted subs, right?
All right. We'll do a deep cut. 10 tier 3s. 10 tier 3s. 10 tier 3s. We'll do it. Anyways.
Count it.
What?
Close enough. Close enough.
Count what? What? Oh, you think
You did the head shake.
I guess I did. I guess maybe. Yeah, no, the thing that I would say about, I guess, melee, you kind of luckily will get into the positions you need to be in and not be running away. But when you're ranged, the big issue is just you try to stay away from the party like you were talking about earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't go to Narnia.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in Narnia, they're just the DPS. They're just out there. They're just.
I mean, in physical range, they could just be dancing and be like, "Man, my life's easy. I just got," especially Dancer, like glowy buttons, just da 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 da, and you're just kind of. That's how Dancers play.
Yeah, it's just Simon Says.
Yeah. And so, you can kind of get used to it, but there is a lot you could do, and you can optimize. Make sure you find out places for where your support utility can be used, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Your group mitigation as a DPS as well.
Yeah.
If you have it, use those buttons, man.
There are so many unused buttons on DPS jobs, in every single party finder, but if you figure out how to use them properly, I guarantee you, when the healer misses a healer or a tank misses a cooldown, sometimes they'll live.
Mm-hmm. Use your personals, man. If you know there's a heavy damage mechanic that's going to stress your healers, run your bloodbath. If you have a personal shield, use that, or second wind. Take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Like it's a huge help.
My favorite thing is using those support utility tools and then seeing someone get to like triple digit health and being like, "You're alive because of me. Mm-hmm. If I didn't press that button, you'd be dead." Mm-hmm. It's such a good feeling. So definitely throw that in there so you could get a little bit of ego boost after a while. Magical DPS, man, that's all over the place. Black Mage is like its own little thing, right? But I think it. Correct me if I'm wrong, because that's the one I'm not like the most familiar with. Summoner, you barely cast anything. Every once in a while you cast stuff, right? But it's mostly just hitting the glowy buttons, do like a dancer sort of. And then Red Mage, you jump in and you jump out. And then Black Mage, you're like, I'm actually casting stuff. Mm. It's a whole different feel to it. And it's tough to play that job because to be really good at Black Mage, you have to know the fight. You really have to know it.
and you have to know slide casting. There's
Yeah.
depending on your
And where to
latency.
put position.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're a caster, um, your cast bar can go up to like maybe 80%, 90%, again, on your latency.
Mhm.
Then you can move. The animation will continue, the cast will go off, but you're not going to interrupt it, and you're moving. So if you ever come from WoW, you can't do that. So in Final Fantasy, that's going to be something completely new. In WoW, if it gets to like 99% of your cast and you move, you're going to interrupt that cast. Final Fantasy, not so much. 80, 90%, you can start moving to the safe spot, dodge an AoE, and the cast will still register.
Yeah.
Yeah. Practicing a strike and dummy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way that I learned how to slide cast on healer. You put like one like macro emote on your hotbar, and once it lights up, when you're casting, once it lights up, and like you can move, and it won't interrupt your cast. I used to practice that.
Huh. So you have a macro that
Like it doesn't have to be a macro. It could just be like an emote or something on your hotbar, right?
Mhm.
Then you can look at. And when you start casting, and then you when the macro or well when the emote or whatever it is lights up, then that means that it's safe to slide cast. It's like around 85%, 90% of the cast bar.
I didn't know that. I'm learning
Yeah.
stuff today.
And as a caster, especially as a healer, if you have a dot, like use that dot to help with movement if you can time it just right. When you're gonna cast your dot, like use it so you can move, because that's a full GCD where you don't have to slide cast.
Yeah. I think, when you really get into optimizing with movements and everything else, and casting, the healers have to deal with it a lot. Black mages have to deal with it. But anytime that you have to deal with casting, I guess samurais have to deal with it too, right?
Yeah.
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 Anytime that
Reaper,
you're dealing
right.
with it, learning how to, because you'll notice the cast is not as long as the GCD.
Yep.
And that's purposeful, so you could weave stuff in. Some things you could weave more in than you could because they're instant versus a cast, and some things you can move. And so that extra little bit there is for you to figure out how to optimize that last quarter of a second or whatever. Whether it's moving, whether it's trying to throw OGCD in there, whatever it could be. So try to make use of it. Figure out again, we're getting all in the timings. When you become a better player, it's because you're figuring out your timings properly. That's really most of it. All right. Well, what else you guys got? What other things do we need to tell these new raiders?
We could also ask chat if there's any new raiders. Maybe they have some specific questions.
You know what? That is a good question. Any new raiders in chat? They're like, all right, I've watched this show, but I feel like I still have a few more lingering questions. It's hard for us, old people, to think about these kind of questions.
Sure.
But yeah. I guess Jet's here asking about time invested in Savage. I guess how much time, in question about how much you should be investing into it. I guess that's per player, per person, right?
It's how much do you want out of it, man? Do you mean like in a single night, like a single session or something? I mean, it's going to be based on your schedule and availability. But I think as much or as little as you want until you see the value of it. But I think anytime you spend in Savage or in high end content, it's going to be beneficial. Hopefully you'll walk away learning something.
Yeah. And you'll also notice this is a really good question or statement here about why black mages cast timer is longer than the recast timer are that's because there's optimization to be had there with swift cast or something else. There's ways to figure out how to mitigate those issues, or when you have to deal with it, figure out how to deal with it in the best way possible. At least that. Go ahead.
Dragothic has a good question here, and I think so. All right, should you even consider starting rating the final Savage tier? Bosses are going to be more challenging. Should you pass or start somewhere else? No, absolutely not. Everything is going to be reset. You're going to have new crafted gear, so it doesn't matter what gear you had this tier going into next. Everyone's going to have a level playing field with crafted gear and the new extreme weapon. So you should definitely get in on that. You could start with a new extreme and do normals, get geared up, and then go into Savage. And I guess historically, I would say the last 4 bosses of a raid tier have been easier than like the others. Like
Yeah.
like you think of like Shiva and stuff, or even just P8S. So it
Mhm.
might be a little easier. I don't know. Yoshi P could be trolling us again. But I would go for it. I mean, especially just like even the first 2 floors. Those are going to be the easier ones. It's gonna pick up in difficulty. Turn 3 and 4. But yeah, you should get into it, man. It's you're not going to be at a disadvantage at all if you start now with a new tier.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best way to start the best time to start is when the new tier drops. So right now it's a really good time
Yeah.
with
Like there
extreme.
isn't like a constant progression throughout the entire expansion. It's like Todd was saying, it's a reset. It's always a
It
reset.
is.
And it's purposely done. So it's always easy to get into Final Fantasy 14. There's never a bad time to get into Final Fantasy 14.
Ooh.
Never. Go ahead, Todd.
No, I'm reading chat, bro. There's some really good questions. If joining a static group, what is a red flag you should look for? So there's so many different answers to this one. I would say first and foremost, alignment and expectations. Is everyone on the same page for your goals? That should be addressed at the start. Some people could be very casual and maybe they don't care. Maybe they don't prep. They don't know the rotation. They just want to be in there for fun with friends. And that's totally fine. Go in there, wipe, laugh about it. Don't really care what happens. But if you have people with different expectations of, I want to clear, I want to get good, I want to learn, press my buttons, and maybe even eventually optimize. When you have half the group not caring and the other half actually caring about different things, then there's going to be conflict and resentment, and that static is going to implode. So make sure that you know what your goals are, and the group that you're in aligns with those goals.
Yeah.
And then the mentality, like, are you used to a certain way of like how are people going to treat you with a wipe? Are they going to point fingers? Are they going to blame? Are they going to like give you a hard time? Because that is going to reduce like the raid morale, and that is a big red flag.
A big
Like, you
red
don't need.
flag,
Mhm.
Definitely.
I would also say, is if they say that there's no console players allowed in their group.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, yes. I saw
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. My buddy Quick there had that right. He ran into that recently too.
Yes.
There's probably something wrong with that group. Just, I'm gonna be honest. Final Fantasy 14 is meant to be optimized for console players as well, and they do a great job with it.
Yeah.
So it's a little concerning.
That is a little bit strange. That is definitely a red flag.
Yep,
Oh yeah.
yep,
Sure.
yep,
Sure.
yep. Sorry.
Yes.
No, what red flags? Any other ones that you
Oh,
can think of?
just like the attitude and like talk firsthand like what the expectations of the group are, how many hours you're gonna rate together,
Mhm.
like rate prep if you're gonna like be studied before coming into raid, because if you're the only person that's not gonna be prepared and everyone else is gonna be like, well, what the hell, you're supposed to prepare and you didn't, then that might be conflict. So yeah, it's specified like make sure you know if you're getting into a static what the group expectations are, and it's 7 other people. So also respect people's times. If you're raiding together, you don't want to be like pointing fingers and making other people uncomfortable, because that's just no fun. And ultimately, it should be fun. It's
Yeah.
Yeah. Should be fun. You should have like a balance of banter, because I mean, that's what we're here for. Like, we're here to game with each other, enjoy each other's company, different personalities and stuff. And while you're wiping, like you're all in that crap together, and it shouldn't. While there are some frustrating moments where you might experience that tilt, but you shouldn't take it out on the other people on your team.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It never helps anyone improve their gameplay at all when you
Yeah.
start getting super negative. Never, because now they're just walking on eggshells, and I think it causes even more tilt. because they're worried about their next mistake if they're going to get yelled at or
Yeah.
called out or something.
Yeah.
Just be respectful, and if you need to, just make clips if you have a stream up, and just ask the question, "Hey, do you know why you died?" Not like, "Oh, you fucked up again." Like, don't say that. Be like, "Do you know why you died?" And if they do,
Yeah, you should say, "Do you know why you fucked up?
Do you know why? Yeah, you say, "Do you know why you fucked up, idiot?" No, just,
Are you sorry?"
like, no, just move. You can just move on. It's like, if they know, then move on. If they are unsure, then you can have a discussion. Like, okay, let's sort this out. Maybe we can help you understand the mechanic, and then we can continue. Because there's going to be people in your group that struggle with different mechanics. Some people learn faster for some mechanics, but slower for others. So you want to be there and help each other out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. It again, guys, rating is the thing I love about Final Fantasy XIV the most out of everything else. And I think most people who play the game, I know there's a lot of people who do story, and that's all they really do. Some people even just do only house scenes. Some people only do certain things, club scenes, RP, everything else. But rating is really, really good in Final Fantasy XIV. It has its own feel to it. You know, there's going to be comparisons about how the OGCDs work and GCDs work and everything else. But it is beautiful. Music is usually on point. The actual graphics, what you're looking at, the fight design, everything, they do such a good job with it. And the balance overall is really good in comparison to a lot of other games. Every once in a while, there's a little hiccup. Shut up, Todd. Every once in a while, there's a little hiccup.
Why so toxic? Damn.
People who are not like listening and like watching chat right now, because man, I should just put you in the chat, Todd. What are you even doing here?
I don't want to be.
You just
want to
be.
You're so toxic, bro. No fun allowed. Jeez. Listen to this guy.
Well, you guys have a gathering in like 18 minutes, so I am going to go and start wrapping up the show. So you guys can go to the bathroom and do whatever else you need to do before your next thing. But yeah, no, you guys, I really do appreciate you coming on and having a discussion. I think it's important to have right now as we're getting into the last Savage tier, last real raid tier of the expansion. And someone was asking about when I was going to do Black Mage. Man, we got a year for me to try things out and get weird with it.
We have a long time for any new in-game content. So have fun with this tier. Go after it, because it's a year and a half. The next expansion before we get something new.
Yeah.
Try Savage, and then after you can try Ultimates. You know.
Yeah,
it's so much fun.
And play maybe even other games.
Avoid
the burnout. Avoid the burnout.
Yeah,
best you can.
And if you get burned out, be burned out. Come back later. I mean, that's just what it is. You don't have to do something you don't enjoy.
Yoshi P says to take breaks.
Yeah. If you want to unsub, if no one's gonna be upset about it, it's okay. You might lose your house though, so keep that in mind.
Log in to keep your house. Yeah.
The release date for Savage is May the 30th.
Yep. May 30th.
At 3 a.m. PST.
Is it 3 a.m. PST or 2 a.m. PST?
I think that's what I saw. Let me double check.
I think it's 3, right?
Is it 3?
I think it's 3 a.m.
I gotta reschedule some stuff if that's the case. It's 2 a.m. I think it's 2 a.m.
Okay.
Oh, it's 2? Okay.
It has to be 2 a.m. Yeah, it's 2 a.m. It's getting a little goofy because they don't take the servers down, I don't think, anymore. They're not going to be doing that anymore, but we'll see.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wait, do you think there's not gonna be maintenance? The servers have been kind of fun.
Hopefully that's fixed too. We'll see. Will not be accessible until 3 a.m. PAT from the patch notes. I gotta reschedule some stuff.
I saw the patch notes. Yeah. That's what I was looking for right now.
Okay.
Can't wait for queue walking.
Yeah.
I would also recommend make sure your character is on the server or data center that you intend to raid on with your group.
Oh yeah.
And so you don't have to deal with like the server visit or DC travel. Like on the same day, because that'll be a nightmare. Be ready. Have your character ready to go.
All right, guys. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up here. Finish off the show. I mean, it's a little bit shorter show than normal, but it's not too far off. Someone showed up late, so we had to start a little late. I mean, that's fine.
Sorry. I don't know why you're so late.
It's all right. I forgive her.
Todd.
It's Todd's fault. It's Todd's fault.
I mean, it is legitimately Todd's fault, but all right, Todd. Let's go do your closing shout outs. Anything that you want to say before you leave? All that great stuff.
Man. I just want to say just a big shout out to my friends that helped me clear top. I mean, that was, I think, very emotional and just such a big sigh of relief. It was just months in the making, and Saori here's a big pog champ for that too. But I'm very, very grateful for the friends that I've made through raiding, and I hope that you all in chat, like if you raid, you can make those friendships. And if one more point, during the shout out, if you find someone that like you're vibing with in Party Finder, add them to your friends list, to your crossword link shell, something like that, and just sync up again. Okay, just find those people, make friends, continue raiding with them. You'll find some good folks. So big shout out to my friends, and of course to you, Frosty. You're one of my friends. All right. I give you a hard time, but only because you're a friend.
I'm glad at least you think we're friends.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, Todd. You were definitely one of my friends, Todd.
No, but that's all I gotta say. And of course,
where can people find you? Yeah, go. Yeah.
At twitch.tv/Llamatodd. In fact, we're gonna be doing some Among Us with our pals right after the show, and we'll be doing some raiding later on. Yeah. So come by and see us.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
You're saying sorry. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Would you like to do your shout outs and where people can find you and all that great stuff? Last words.
Yes, of course. Well, I would like to thank you for having me over again.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, so much fun. And yeah, look forward the next raid tier. We're going to be doing a lot of raiding with food buff inspectors raiding here with Todd.
That's right.
And some friends. So yeah, you can find me at twitch.tv/SayoriV and at Twitter GG_Sayori. And yeah, don't be afraid to ask your streamers questions also. Even if you think it's like silly question, we don't mind answering any questions really. Especially when it comes to raiding. I love raiding. I can do that every day. Like just ask away.
Yeah. I will say, you both are going to be streaming immediately after this, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So stick around. I'm going to raid. I'm going to flip a coin and we're going to raid one of them. But please go watch their stream afterwards.
Get Sayori.
Well, I'm going to flip a coin. It may be only heads and tails or both to Saori, but I'll flip one anyways. Okay. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching. This has been a fantastic show. We have a lot of really cool stuff. We have news for the World Race coming up in the next couple of days. You guys should be looking forward to that. It's going to be a big couple of weeks here soon. Next week, we're going to probably have a World Race show where we're discussing it before the event happens. I now know that it's 3 a.m. is starting instead of 2 a.m., so I got to change some things.
I know.
Hey, jeez. But yeah, we will be doing the World Race just a week and a half from now. I am semi-freaking out over it and hope it goes well. I hope you guys all come to watch it. We'll be raising money for charity. And it's going to be a really good time. But that all being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. Remember, be good, keep cool, stay frosty, and bye.
Bye. Bye, chat.
Bye.
Thanks for being cute.
Okay, I did it.